All right, everybody, thanks so much for being here. This is the third episode of the weekly podcast. I am Hyperion. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Tonight, we're going to talk about transcending the game, or the activity that you are doing on Twitch or YouTube as a streamer. And I feel like this is a really important topic to talk about because I feel like a lot of new streamers out there, they think that the game is the content, but it's actually kind of the other way around. The streamer is the content, but really the game is kind of like the backdrop or the vehicle to deliver that content. We talked a lot about content yesterday, and we talked a lot about content the week before, and how important it is to deliver great content and to focus on, delivering that great content, and that makes it so that you're building relationships with people that are watching your stream outside of the game that you're playing. And it's really important to do this, because if you are stuck streaming a game, for instance, you've been streaming a game for a very long time and you decide to switch, you're going to have some viewership loss. That happens to pretty much every single streamer out there. It happens to me, it happens to a lot of streamers that I personally know. If you're delivering great content, you're going to minimize that viewership loss because the content is before the game. The content is always going to be there, whether you are playing, a game like For Honor, whether you are playing a game like Overwatch, whether you're playing a game like World of Warcraft. If you're focusing on delivering really great content that people want to watch, they're going to come to your streams regardless of the game you're playing. And I think that's one of the really great things about focusing on content rather than the game you're playing. A lot of streamers think that the game is the content. If I stream WoW, on my channel every single day, a lot of people feel like they have to do something within the game, within the confines of the game, that people want to watch. Like if I'm a raider, in a big mythic raiding guild for WoW, I better be good. I better be a really great raider in this guild. If I'm playing PvP, I better be really good at PvP, or else nobody's gonna watch me. And I think this is the wrong approach to have. I think that the game is always secondary to the streamer. When you hear a lot of times about, people say a lot in Twitch chats and stuff like that, I came for the game, but I stayed for the streamer. That's exactly what you want to be going for. That's exactly what you want to be going for, because that means that the person is there for you and not necessarily the game, and they're going to be more likely to stick with you no matter what you decide to do, no matter what game that you decide to play on your channel. So that's a really important philosophy that I feel like new streamers don't get a lot of times. They feel like they have to pick the right game, and I've actually fallen into this trap myself. I streamed For Honor for a year, and I started my channel from scratch, and I worked my way up to 130 viewers average over the course of a month. In the month of July, it was my biggest month on the channel, and I kind of got bored of For Honor. I kind of started thinking, well, I need to start playing something else for the channel here, because For Honor's kind of stagnant for me right now. I'm not really enjoying it as much as I used to, so I want to switch things up. And I think that's the wrong attitude to have. I think you're doing yourself a disservice with that way of thinking by tying yourself to the game. I don't think that you ever want to be a streamer that's known for the game that you're playing. I don't think that you want to be known as a streamer that's known for the game that you're playing. I don't think you ever want that, because one of the really unfortunate things is that eventually, at some time, whether it's soon or much further down the line, people are going to get bored of that game. They're going to move on from that game. And so if the game is such a huge part of your channel, where it is all of the content, where it's most of the content that you're delivering, when that happens, your channel's going to take a hit. So if you're constantly thinking of ways to transcend the game, which is a phrase that a really great streamer named Sado to Rage coined, that I definitely have taken, and I definitely have added to the philosophy of my channel. If you're transcending the game, you're beyond the game. You're not bound to just having to have your success based on the game that you're playing, because you're focusing on delivering great content to people. So I feel like a lot of streamers think of it backwards, where it's the game is the content, but really the game is just a backdrop. The game is what gets your foot in the door. You know, if I'm a streamer on Twitch and I'm looking for a WoW streamer, you know, and I click on World of Warcraft and I'm watching, you know, Joe Schmo stream in World of Warcraft, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to stay, but the game gets my foot in the door. I have to stay because I'm enjoying the content, or I'm enjoying what the streamer is doing, or I'm enjoying the jokes that they're making, or the Q&A sessions, or whatever that they're having that is allowing them to transcend the game. So I would say for new streamers out there that are on the platform right now, that, you know, if you're just getting started on the platform, I think I think one of the things that you should be thinking of are ways to transcend the game, ways to deliver great content that isn't necessarily, it can be related to the game, but it isn't the, you know, you shouldn't just be focusing on just playing the game and hoping that, you know, people are going to stay because you happen to be playing a game that they want to watch, because eventually they're going to get bored of it and eventually they're going to move on. And I see examples of this, you know, both from big and small streamers. And that's one of the natural questions that I think you need to ask yourself once you've decided that this is what you want to do with your channel. You know, how do you transcend the game? You know, what type of content do people want to watch? You know, what are people going to be interested in? Why are people going to come back to my channel? Why is somebody going to watch me and not the person right next to me in the directory on Twitch? And there's a lot of examples of ways that you can do that. You know, for me personally, I am passionate about building relationships with people. That's what I focus on. I love talking to people. I love getting to know them. I love asking them about their day. I love asking them about their weekend coming up. That's one of the ways I feel like I transcend the game, because that's something that I can do whether I'm playing World of Warcraft or whether I'm playing Destiny 2. Is that if I ask you, hey, how's your day going? You know, how was that thing that you did the other day? What's your weekend going to be? What are you looking forward to doing this weekend? You got any fun plans coming up? If you're doing that, you can do that whether you are playing Destiny or whether you are playing World of Warcraft. And that's exactly what I mean by transcending the game. You're not bound by your content being dictated by the game that you're playing. Instead, you're creating the content just using the game as a backdrop. But I see a lot of examples of this from very, very successful streamers, both, you know, very big streamers or what I would consider small streamers. You know, on the smaller side, you know, there's a streamer called Clutchmeister that streams For Honor. And I think he does a really, really great job of, you know, he kind of has a persona on stream. You know, he's an excellent For Honor player. He's known as the #1 digital athlete. He's branded himself very, very, very well within that directory. And anybody who plays For Honor has most likely heard of him, because he has transcended the game. He's created content that's going to resonate with people, that people are going to remember. And he's an instantly recognizable streamer within that directory because he's able to do that successfully. You know, he does coaching. You know, he has coaching sessions where, you know, he brings in, you know, maybe inexperienced players or players wanting to refine their games, and he does a coaching session live with them on stream, and it gives them tips and things on how to improve their game. You know, those are things that you can do, and those are things that he is doing to transcend the game that he's playing. He's not just sitting there, and he's really, really good at For Honor, but he's more than just really, really good at For Honor. He's really good at For Honor, but he's also delivering content that goes outside of the bounds of the game itself. Dr. Disrespect is another great example I can think of somebody who plays a character. You know, it doesn't matter what Dr. Disrespect is doing. He's in character. He does a really, really great job of selling his character. And, you know, he's a very entertaining person to watch, whether he streams Fortnite, whether he streams PUBG, whether he streams a random game, because, you know, eventually something's going to happen that's going to be absolutely hilarious that he does, and you don't want to miss it when that happens, right? You want to be a part of it. It helps galvanize his community. Summit 1G is a really really funny person, and he goofs around a lot on stream. He does all of these other things in addition to just being a really really great Counter-Strike player, for instance, that transcends the game, that goes beyond the game. So there's examples that I can cite both from big and small streamers, but the big idea that I'm trying to drive here is that if you are, Twitch is a very, very saturated platform right now. Live streaming is becoming a very, very saturated industry. So many people are getting into it. Everybody's picking it up. Everybody wants to do it. Everybody wants to make it their career and wants to be very, very successful at it. Not everybody's going to do that, right? It's not realistic that every single person is going to be super successful at streaming. But if you're delivering great content that goes beyond the game you're playing or the activity that you're doing, that's going to give you a much better shot. So, saturation is going to be your biggest barrier to entry, your biggest barrier to success on Twitch or on YouTube, or Mixer or whatever. It's saturation. Twitch is extremely, extremely saturated right now. Platforms like Mixer, platforms like Facebook Gaming, platforms like YouTube are a lot less saturated, but I guarantee that you're going to see those platforms get way more saturated as more people begin to get into the industry here. So you're going to have to deal with saturation. You might not be dealing with it right now on Mixer, for instance, but you're going to at some point, because it's becoming very, very popular, and it's a booming industry right now. So the saturation is the biggest hurdle to success, because you want exposure, you want people to discover your channel. And I see a lot of people, especially new streamers, they're putting themselves behind the 8 ball, and they're just saying, well, I'm going to go live, I'm going to play this game, and people are going to watch me. And that's not always the case. You need to do more than that. That's what the vast majority of broadcasters do on Twitch or on any platform. The vast majority of them just hit the go live button, they play the game, and they hope people are going to show up and watch, and then that's it. They're not doing anything outside of that to help their channel, to deliver great content that people want to watch. So, transcending the game is really, really important, and I would certainly suggest that, if you are a new streamer or you've been struggling with your channel, and you've been on the platform for a while, and you're not really showing a lot of growth, your numbers are kind of a little bit down, try not to get discouraged, but try to take a look at your channel, try to take a look at what you've been doing, and then see if you can retool some of the things that you're doing. For me, I grew from, like I said, I grew from 0 to 130 average viewers playing For Honor, and I've switched from For Honor, and my viewership took a complete nosedive. It went down to like 20 to 40. So I lost over 2/3 of my viewers just because I switched from one game to the next. Even though I feel like I'm doing a great job of delivering great content, some people, when your community gets used to watching you play a game, and you're not playing that game anymore, they're going to probably find somebody else who is. That's just the name of the game. That happens to every single streamer on Twitch. But a great way to minimize that viewership loss is delivering great content. And I can sit here and I can get discouraged, and I can get down on myself, and I kind of have been the past couple weeks. It's been rough for me the past couple weeks, seeing my viewers go from way up here to way down here. It's not an easy thing to go through, especially since this is the real first challenge that I've run into since I started on Twitch. I've enjoyed a really I don't want to say easy, because I definitely put a lot of work into it, but I've enjoyed a pretty steady path of growth, a steady path of success on Twitch in the past year or so, or a year and a month and a half or something, year and 2 months that I've been streaming. I've enjoyed that. I haven't really had to do much else. I know that if I play For Honor and I do what I need to do every single night, people are going to show up, and I'm going to grow my channel. But within the past 2 weeks since I switched from that, now I have to kind of think of other ways to supplement the content that I am trying to deliver to people. And one of the ways that you're going to do that is by transcending the game. So if your numbers are a little bit down, if you've been struggling, if you've switched games like me and your viewership is going down, I would suggest taking a look at the content you're delivering and see if you can find ways to transcend whatever the normal activity that you're doing is on your stream, whether it's Monster Hunter World or IRL or whatever. There are always ways that you can break through the bounds of that activity and deliver great content to people, and that's what's going to get you back on track. So that's something that I'm going through right now, and certainly a lot of other people are going through it as well. And the tried and true method of rebounding from that is delivering great content and transcending the game. So guys, that's going to be it for this topic tonight. I know this is a shorter podcast, not a lot of material here. It's a pretty simple, it's a really simple idea, and I guess that's one of the issues with it. It's a really simple idea. Well, just transcend the game, forehead. It's a really simple idea, but it's very complex in the execution, because it's easy to want to do it, but how do you do it? Do I have to play a character? Do I have to play a character like Dr. Disrespect? Do I have to be a comedian? Do I have to do this, that, and the other? There are a lot of things that you can do, but what you have to find whatever you're going to be comfortable with. If you're not somebody who's comfortable with playing a character, for instance, you probably shouldn't play a character, because it's going to come off as fake and people are going to feel uncomfortable and they're probably going to leave. So transcending the game is a really simple idea. It's an extremely simple idea, but the execution of it is much more complex than that. But if you're thinking of ways to do that, you're already off to a really good start. So that's certainly something I suggest to everybody here. And if you enjoyed the talk, make sure you like, share, and subscribe to our comment here. And we will have a Q&A session right now, so we will be reading your questions live on stream with regards to the topic that we talked about here, or anything else that you want to ask me related to streaming. So thank you so much for joining me on this episode of the podcast. I look forward to seeing you guys on the next one. Take care. All right, guys, this is going to be the question and answer portion of the podcast for tonight. We talked a lot about transcending the game, ways that you can break through the confines of the game you are playing, delivering great content that people are going to want to watch regardless of whether you stream, regardless of whatever game you decide to stream. And I think it's a really important thing if you want to be successful on Twitch and you want to separate yourself from the vast majority of broadcasters out there. Transcending the game is certainly a great way to do that. So this is the Q&A portion of the stream. So we can read some questions. If you want to ask a question, use Command Q&A in the chat if you happen to be part of the live stream right now, and I will read it live on stream, and I will do my best to answer it. So the first question tonight comes in from Just Fred. Just Fred wants to know, do you think it's important, given Twitch's growth, for there to exist a concept similar to YouTube's networks learning from their mistakes on Twitch? Either yes or no. Why? Do you think it's important, given Twitch's growth, for there to exist a concept similar to YouTube's network learning from their mistakes on Twitch? Well, if you're talking about platforms learning from YouTube's mistakes, I think that there have been very prominent YouTubers that have certainly made some very big mistakes on YouTube that have sent ripples throughout the entire online community. Logan Paul is the first example that I can think of, and it's probably the example you're thinking of as well. And yes, I think it's certainly very important for Twitch to do everything they can to prevent another Logan Paul from happening, and not even trying to just bully Logan Paul here, but Facebook gaming, or not Facebook gaming, but Facebook Live. I don't know if you guys remember hearing on Facebook I can't remember how long ago it was, but somebody actually live streamed shooting somebody else live on Facebook. That was like a really huge thing. I'm sure you can do a quick internet search, a quick Google search, and you can find when that happens. So it's really tough though, but certainly Twitch should do everything they can to prevent stuff like that happening, because it puts kind of a black eye on not just the platform, but the entire industry. It puts a black eye on live streaming in general. You don't want stuff like that happening on the platform. You don't want to be, if you're Facebook gaming, for instance, you don't want to be known as, the place where the guy streamed a murder live on Facebook. You don't want to be known as that. So yes, it's absolutely important for Twitch to learn from YouTube's mistakes. And Twitch has had their own mistakes as well, by the way. You know, Twitch's track record in IRL is spotty at best. You know, there have been some incidents in IRL, you know, that you know, people have, you know, these things have happened in IRL, and a lot of people called for Twitch to just end the IRL section in general. Now, I don't necessarily agree with that, but you know, it certainly speaks to the importance and the need to do everything you can to prevent really, really bad things from going out live on the internet. That said, I don't exactly know how you do that, because live streaming, one of the great things about live streaming is that it's instant. Like, whatever I'm doing right now, you are going to see a few seconds later without much delay. People have said in the past, and I actually made this argument myself. But I changed my opinion on it. You know, maybe Twitch adds a delay, and then, you know, they can kind of moderate the content coming out before it goes out live, like TV shows, like radio shows do. But I think that would be the worst thing for them to do, because that's old media. You know, that's the old guard, right? TV and radio and all of that stuff. All of that old media is going away, right? So you don't. I changed my opinion on that. You know, at first I said they should add a delay, but now I said, well, wait a minute, what's the point of live streaming then? You know, so I don't exactly know what the best way to do that is for Twitch. Probably just outright banning somebody from the platform, and maybe that's the best way you can police that type of content. But I mean, it's really tough when you have 3.4 million broadcasters on the platform. You know, some things are going to slip through the cracks, and that's just the nature of this business, and that's just the nature of this industry. But yes, it's definitely important for Twitch to learn from YouTube's mistakes, for Twitch to learn about Facebook's mistakes, or learn from Facebook's mistakes with regards to really bad, vulgar content getting out there on their platform. They should do everything they can to prevent that. Crow asks, did you know you're cool? Of course I know that I'm cool. Thank you, Crow. Would you agree that maybe, his second question, would you agree that maybe just pick a random game to stream for now, deal with the struggle of a low view count for a short time until a new game like Battlefield or Call of Duty comes out? If you're one of the first in a new directory, I would think that's best. Well, this is kind of going back to the talk with Transcending the Game. You know, we talked a little bit about Ninja yesterday, about Ninja's rise to fame, you know, with Fortnite. You know, he was the biggest Fortnite streamer before Fortnite kind of blew up and took off, right? He went from like 5,000 viewers a stream to now, like, you know, I saw him at 70,000 viewers today. So it's certainly a valid thought process. To, you know, you should be strategic in what you decide to play, right? Like, you should be strategic. You should be strategic in what you decide to do with your channel, right? And one of the ways of being strategic is what you just said, you know, hey, I'm gonna play Fortnite because I think Fortnite's a really great game. Battle Royale is a very popular genre right now. So, you know, I'm gonna position myself at the top of this directory so that if it blows up, I'm going to be the #1 streamer in that directory, and I'm going to feed off of the success of the popularity of the game. That is certainly a valid thought process, and that's certainly a valid strategy. But again, I would caution you with just, you know, with the thought process of just, you know, all I have to do is play the right game, because it kind of sounds like within that question, that's the idea behind the question, right? If I just play this game and I just position myself in this directory, well, all I have to do is wait for this game to blow up and then I'm going to be set. Not the case. It's not always going to be the case, because, you know, as that game becomes more and more popular, more people are going to be streaming that game. You're going to have more competition to deal with. you're still going to have to separate yourself from the rest of the field. And the way to do that is to transcend the game. The way to do that is to deliver great content that people want to watch, great content that people keep coming back for. Whether it's Fortnite or any other game, you still have to do that. I can jump into the WoW expansion, the World of Warcraft expansion, and I can position myself at the top of that directory because I know that once the WoW expansion hits, the game's going to shoot up like a rocket, viewership-wise on Twitch. But if I suck at streaming and I'm not entertaining and I'm not delivering great content, I'm just going to get pushed down by everybody else who's better than me. So you still have to think of it that way. There is definitely a first mover advantage when it comes to streaming. But it's always going to be secondary to the content that you're delivering. It's always going to be secondary to what you are doing as a streamer, because you have to separate yourself from the rest of the field, and transcending the game is the way to do that. Sarah Von Harrell says, when is the next For Honor stream? Next For Honor stream will be when Marching Fire hits in early October. Thank you for the question. Just Fred says, or asks rather, regarding investment for a Twitch channel, which is more important in your opinion? Money, time, or your own energy? Great question. Why are the other choices not as important? I'm going to take an awkward sip here while I ponder that answer. Money, time, or your own energy? In my opinion, I can tell you 100% what the least important one of those three are, and it's money. The least, if you're deciding between money, time, and your own energy, money is the least important of the three, in my opinion, by far. I believe that if you are great at what you do, and you are entertaining, and you're funny, and you're engaging with your chat, and you do a great job of delivering amazing content that people want to watch, it doesn't matter if you have a $4,000 gaming rig versus a $700 gaming rig. You're delivering great content. You're going to resonate more if you're building great relationships and delivering great content to people than somebody who spends a bunch of money on fancy equipment and doesn't even read chat, for instance. So, the barrier, there is a financial component, of course, with streaming and investing in your stream, absolutely. But at the beginning, I think you should start out very, very, very small and then work your way up. Another great phrase from Say No to Rage is, let growth be an impetus for upgrades. Meaning, don't start out with all of this crazy fancy equipment right off the bat and expect that that's going to get you to success. Just get your foot in the door. Just get your foot in the door, see how you're doing, see what people are resonating with on your channel, and then as you grow and then you start earning on the platform, you can reinvest that money into your stream. That's what I've done, and honestly, I've been streaming for about 1 year and 2 months now, and I haven't really spent a ton of money on my setup. I've taken the money I've earned, and this mic that I'm using right now is the same mic that I've been using since I started. I have 2 studio lights, and I've done some upgrades to my PC, but I haven't spent a ton of money because I haven't felt like I've needed to. Now, since I've been streaming a while, and I have been, and I do watch my VODs a lot, which I certainly recommend you guys all do as well. I've noticed that my mic picks up a lot of background noise, for instance. If I run a fan in my background, and it's not far enough away and it's not on a super low setting, you're going to hear that on my mic. So I've been looking at getting a different mic that's going to be better with drowning out the background noise. But I didn't spend $4,000 or $5,000 on a bunch of fancy equipment when I first started. I just wanted to get my foot in the door, see how I did, figure out if I could swim, and then let my growth on the platform be an impetus to the upgrades for my stream. As far as time or my own energy is concerned, so money is the least important of the three. So between time and energy, I think time is probably more important than energy, and here's why. When you're talking about energy, your energy is only going to be seen while you're live, right? You know, if I'm if I'm the most energetic, super amazing person in the world, you know, and I do all of these really, really awesome things, you're only going to see that when you're live, right? Now, it's super important to have high energy for sure, but I think time is more important, because when you're talking about time, you're talking about things like, for instance, networking, you know, being able to network with other streamers. If you don't have any time to network with other streamers, you're going to be at a disadvantage versus somebody who does have time to network with other streamers. You know, spending time in your Discord is a really, really great way to stay in touch with your viewers. If you don't have the time to do that, you're going to be at a disadvantage compared to somebody who does. If you don't have a lot of time to create content outside of your stream, which is certainly something that can definitely help your channel. That's something that I have done with some success, but not a ton, because I don't have a ton of time. But if I did, I would do that. You know, I would think of, you know, I would just brainstorm ways that I can deliver new content outside of just my live streams to supplement my live streams. So I think time out of those three is the most important for that reasons, because the more time you have, the more things that you can do outside of just going live that can help you grow your channel, whether it's spending time in somebody else's stream and getting to know their community and getting to know them as a streamer and possibly networking with them, spending time in your Discord and interacting with your viewers and building relationships with people, spending time creating new content. You know, you can do so many things, so much more things with time than energy. But yeah, certainly energy is very important as well. So if I would rank them, I would say the most important is time, next important is energy, least important by far is money. I think that answers your question. True Impact, I see you in the chat there. You can ask questions using Command Q&A, and then use the Google form that comes up, and then you can ask a question. And then if I decide it's a question I want to answer, I will answer it live on the stream. Thank you guys so much for being here so far. By the way, I appreciate it very, very much. If you guys are enjoying the channel, make sure you follow the channel here. Make sure you like our podcast, and I would love to have you guys all back. You can still ask questions by using Command Q&A in the chat if you haven't gotten your question in yet. We have plenty of time to answer questions, so we will definitely get through as many as we can, and there's not many in the queue right now, so it's a good chance that yours will get read. King Punisher asks, what made you want to start streaming and how did you start growing? What made me want to start streaming was building relationships with people. I talk a lot about building relationships, right? Because I love building relationships. I love making friends. I love doing something that I love and connecting with other people that love that same thing. So when I got started on Twitch, that's something that I really, really wanted to focus on, was building relationships with people over something that we all love, and that's video games, right? And if you go on my Twitch channel right now, you'll see that written pretty much word for word in one of my channel panels as my goal of the channel. My goal of the channel is to build a community through something that we all love, which is video games. So I love building relationships with people. I've always considered myself a people person. You know, I love making friends. I'm very, very outgoing. I didn't used to be outgoing, but you know, I certainly consider myself a very outgoing individual. This is just something that I love doing. I just love playing video games, and I love talking with people, and I feel like streaming on Twitch has been the perfect marriage of those two things. How did I start growing? I like how you guys are sneaking in two questions in one, by the way. You guys are very, very clever, but I'll answer it. Why not? How did I start growing? Man, I mean, you know, I decided before I almost approached it with kind of like a business mindset. Not a business mindset in the sense that I wanted to just, you know, make a bunch of money on Twitch, because that's not what it should be about. That's never what it should be about, in my opinion. Although people do have that goal in mind, and that's fine for their channels, I believe that that's not what the best thing about streaming is. I don't believe it's about the money. So I kind of approached it with a strategic mindset. I knew that I didn't want to stream a saturated game when I first started out because, if I were to stream, I think this was before Fortnite really exploded. So I don't think I can use Fortnite as an example for when I started. But I'm going to use that as an example anyways because it's the worst game to stream on Twitch if you want to grow. When I started, I knew that I didn't want to stream a saturated game like Fortnite. Because if I streamed a saturated game like Fortnite, there's 10,000 other channels streaming that game. And I'm going to start at 0. And nobody is going to scroll to the very bottom of that directory to find my channel. So I looked at the directory on Twitch and I looked at all the viewers on Twitch. This was before I knew of Twitch Strike, which is a really, really good resource for this type of information now, and it actually gives you hard numbers on it. It seems like it's pretty decently accurate. I took a look at the directory and I pretty much eliminated like the first 5 rows of the directory, and I said, these games have way too many people viewing them, so they're going to have way too many people streaming them. I'm going to start at 0. It's going to be harder for somebody to find my channel in these games. So I took the first 5 rows of the directory and I just threw those out and said, I'm not going to play a game in those directories if I want to grow. And so that left me with a range of about, up to 3,000 viewers, which I feel like is a good place for most people to start. I feel like if you're within that few hundred to 3,000 viewer mark, if you're just getting started, I feel like that's a really, really good sweet spot for a lot of streamers to start out. And so I just decided to pick a game within that range, which happened to be For Honor at the time. For Honor was more popular than it is now, but it certainly wasn't crazy popular where I would get buried in the directory. And I just happened across For Honor because I liked For Honor, and I just decided to play For Honor, and that's what I did. And then I decided to tell myself that I am going to stream this game for at least 6 months, and see what happens, because I believe the fastest path to growth is streaming one game. I think the fastest path to growth is streaming one game, sticking with that game for as long as possible, and then just farming that directory. I think of directories, if you want to grow on Twitch, I say farm the directory. Go into a directory, farm that directory, get as much out of that directory as you can, and then once you feel like you hit your ceiling, and then once you feel like you start taking a dip, then you switch. That's when you switch if you want to grow. And that's what I'm attempting to do now. So that's how I grew. And then when I was going live every night, I just made sure that I was bringing a lot of energy. I made sure that I was talking to chat as much as possible, doing everything I can to keep the conversation going without being crazy awkward. And that's pretty much all. And I made sure I was networking with other streamers too, which is something that I admittedly have kind of fallen off the wagon with doing a little bit, because I've been trying to find a new game to play. I haven't really spent a ton of time networking with other streamers as much as I used to, but that was it. I mean, that's everything that I did, and that's how I got up to 130 viewers, and that's how I got partnered on Twitch in 10 months. And that's how I grew a really, really awesome community that I look forward to hanging out with every single night. So yeah, I mean, it's a really, really simple formula. Don't stream a saturated game, be engaging with your chat, and stream that game as much as you can. If you do those 3 things, you're going to grow. The results will vary from person to person, though, of course, because everybody's different. Let's see. Alfred Ben says, this is a question more of an answer to your previous stream where you said you didn't know exactly where you wanted to go with your channel. I think you should do a schedule, at least for a while, such as For Honor Monday, Wednesday, another game on Tuesday, Thursday, podcast on Friday. You could also introduce a Let's Play type stream on Tuesday and Thursday where you're playing through the story mode and not a multiplayer game. I mean, possibly, I'm at a position right now, the channel's kind of at a crossroads right now, and I'm figuring out what I should do next with my channel. And certainly some of those ideas, like you said, doing like a Let's Play type thing, in a podcast and all those things that you mentioned, those are ways that you're going to be able to transcend what you're doing. And those are things that I'm attempting to do right now, but it's tough, man. I mean, when you get used to playing a game for a year and then you switch that game, it's a tough adjustment at first, and that's going to happen to everybody, and it's happening to me, and I'm not the only person that goes through it, but I know that I'll get through it. It's just going to take a little bit of time to figure out what I want to do next. But yeah, I appreciate the comment, Alfred. Just Fred asks again, why do you think girl streamers that show skin are so popular? No matter what they do on camera, have gotten away with it for so long. Is this a form, albeit corrupted, way of transcending the game? I don't really have an opinion on that one way or the other, although I will say that, you know, anybody who finds success in whatever they are doing with their channel, as long as it's something that's not going to hurt the platform, as long as it's something that's not illegal, I think is perfectly fine. I don't plan on doing that type of content, and you know, I certainly wouldn't ever dream of doing that type of content here. But, you know, if it works for your channel and you have found success in it, far be it for me to tell you to do something else. So I guess that would be my opinion. Don't have anything against it. Dread asks, do you still love me? Absolutely, Dread. I'll always love you. How are you doing, dude? Slow Cool asks, do you feel hosts help you grow faster when you're first starting out? Good question. Good question. I think hosts can help. Hosts, you know, hosts in raids and stuff like that, I don't feel like do a ton for your channel. It's a great gesture, but I don't feel like it does a lot if you're not doing all of the other things that you need to do. If I host somebody, for instance, for, you know, 100 viewers, and the person's sitting there like a stump and not doing anything, and not talking to their chat, how fast do you think those 100 viewers I just sent to their channel are going to end up leaving? You know? Now, I definitely think that if you build a network of streamers where you guys can, like, start hosting back and forth, you know, like if I host 1 Million Kitties one night and then he returns the favor, and then I host Moose one night and then he returns the favor, and then I host Silbercroix one night and he returns the favor, you know, that's building a network. I think that's different than just hosting somebody and expecting to grow from that host. You know, it doesn't always work out that way. I got a host from iSkies, you know, who's a really, really big For Honor streamer, for 300 viewers one night. My average viewers for that stream wasn't 300 because a lot of those people just ended up leaving because I'm not iSkies. Some of them ended up staying, right? So you're not going to 100% of the people that you end up raiding with, you know, if you raid somebody else's channel, 100% of those people aren't going to stay. You know, it's just not going to happen because you're not the person that they were watching for. But you certainly have a better chance in helping in making them stay if you're delivering great content, you're building relationships with the people that end up coming to your channel. But just hosting somebody or expecting that, you know, you're just going to grow if you get hosted by somebody or rated by somebody, I think is incorrect. I think that, you know, building a network is different than just sending somebody a host. You know, building a network is, you know, I raid you and then I hang out in your channel and then I get to know you and then I get to know your community and then you remember me because of that, and then you host me and then you get to know me and then you get to know my community. That's how you build a network, you know, through hosting. It's more than just clicking the host button on somebody's channel and then saying, you know, that's it. You have to do more than that. Not Silver asks, how could Twitch help people find a streamer they may like in a category? Wow, that's a fantastic question. Fantastic question. They're kind of doing stuff already with that, with the new homepage. By the way, guys, before I get into answering this question, if your question, we only have one more question besides this. So if you are new to the stream, if you are just coming in, if you want to ask a question, use command Q&A. Click the link in the response to the command. That'll take you to a form where you can fill out a question, and then I'll read it live on stream, because I see a lot of new people coming into the chat right now who have asked questions and used the command, but did it incorrectly. And so I'm not going to see the question when it comes through. So if you use command Q&A, You click the link that it shoots at you. It'll take you to a Google form. You can ask the question through that, and then I'll be able to read it on stream. But once I get through the questions, I'll scroll back up through the questions that haven't been submitted yet. But Twitch is helping. Twitch is kind of doing that right now, although I feel like they're not doing a great job of that right now with the new homepage. You know, like for instance, you know, if I sign into Twitch, you know, they have like, you know, live channels you may like, and, you know, Fortnite streamers you may like, and For Honor streamers you may like, and stuff like that. You know, I don't watch Fortnite. I don't have an interest in Fortnite, you know, at all. Sometimes I watch Tim the Tatman or Ninja play Fortnite, but I rarely ever stay. I just want to watch Ninja and Tim the Tatman, you know what I mean? So Twitch is kind of trying to figure that out. I think the best thing Twitch can do is add more filters to the directory. I think the best thing Twitch can do is add more filters in the directory. The biggest barrier to growth is saturation. That's your biggest barrier to growth, is getting noticed, is getting through that saturation. And the directories on Twitch have gotten so big that it's very, very, very difficult to find a streamer that you want to watch because there's so many to click through. That's precisely why the streamers at the top of the directory always get the bulk of the views, right? Because the viewer doesn't know what they're looking for, you know, or new viewers to Fortnite or new viewers to For Honor, you know, might not know what they're looking for. So I think a really, really great way of cutting through that saturation is adding more filters to the directory, and I'll give you guys an example of what I'm talking about. They're already doing it with language filters, which I didn't know actually until a few weeks ago. But, you know, language filters is a great idea. You know, if I click on a directory and I don't speak Korean, you know, I should have a way of filtering out the Korean streamers because I have no idea, you know, I don't have an interest in watching a Korean streamer if I don't speak Korean, you know what I mean? So, you know, is Korean a language, by the way? I don't even know if it is, but you guys get what I mean. We'll say Japanese. There's a great For Honor meme. I don't speak Japanese, for instance, so I'm not interested in watching a Japanese streamer. So a language filter is a great idea. Now is Korean a language? I didn't know, guys, okay? But that's a great way of cutting through the saturation of the directory for a new viewer, because now I'm getting through those other streamers that I don't understand their language, therefore I'm not going to watch them anyways. But that's a very, very basic example, and that's one Twitch is already doing. So I'll give you another example. World of Warcraft. I play World of Warcraft, and I play a hunter. And I want to watch a streamer between 0 and 10 viewers because I want to learn more about my class. So I want to be able to go into the World of Warcraft directory and filter by hunter. I want to only bring back the streamers that are playing a hunter, and I want to only bring back the streamers that are between 0 and 10 viewers because I want to have direct one-to-one interaction with the streamer that I'm watching. That's a really, really easy way of helping new streamers get found within a directory, is adding more filters like that. For Honor, you know, I've been playing For Honor for a while, so when I go to the For Honor directory, I want to watch people that are playing Valkyrie because I play Valkyrie and I want to know how to play Valkyrie because I love Valkyrie even though she's terrible. You know, you can do that. You know, you should be able to do that. And so they're doing that somewhat with the bigger games, but I don't feel like it's a very hard thing to do with a lot of popular games like that. Like certainly World of Warcraft is popular enough for them to be able to add some sort of API where they can grab the the class that the person is playing, and then they can allow that to be filtered within the directory. I don't think that that's a very difficult thing to do. Somebody said it's very awkward. The setup would have to edit it every time you go live if you use something different. True, but I mean, why wouldn't I edit that every time I go live? You know, I would want to edit that because that's what I'm doing, because it would help cut through that saturation. If I'm playing a paladin, you know, and I'm a paladin main, you know, and I leave it when I go live set to hunter, you know, that's my fault. But I can certainly do that. It doesn't take much effort to do that at all, you know what I mean? So I think that's a really, really great way of cutting through the saturation is something like that. We're adding more filters to the directory by viewer count, you know, maybe by time zone. Time zone would be a really, really great filter, I feel like. You know, class that they're playing, or level that their character is, or, you know, whatever. You know, I think that that's the best way to cut down. You want to segment the directories, right? You don't want the directory to be like this, because there's a bunch of stuff in here that you don't want to watch. You know, as a viewer, you want to only break it down to the content that you want to see. And I think a really, really great way of doing that would be adding filters like that to the directory. I think it would be one of the best ways to do that. True Impact asks, when thinking of branding your stream, what was your thought process of thinking of how you want to brand your stream? Is it still an ever-changing process? I think it's an ever-changing process until you figure out exactly what you want to do. You know, you're going to try a bunch of things that you think is going to work for you, right? You know, so I think branding can be an ever-changing process. But if you're Dr. Disrespect, for instance, you found what makes you unique. You found the thing that you want to do, you know, and that's what you're going to stick with. That's your brand. And changing your brand at that point would be absolutely catastrophic to the channel. If Dr. Disrespect started streaming as Guy Beam, which is his name in real life, I guarantee you a lot of people would be like, what the hell, where's Doc at, you know? So you don't want to do that. But while you're figuring out your brand, I would say try a bunch of things. And I would say while you're growing, it doesn't hurt to try a bunch of things, you know, and see what works and see what resonates with people. It's just like content. You know, it's just like the type of content that you want to create. You know, try a bunch of different types of content, see what's resonating with people, see what's getting people coming back to your stream, and then once you found that, you stick with that. And then there's your content, you know, until you decide that it's time to switch up your content. I feel like branding is the same way, but when you get to a certain point, you don't want to change your brand. You know, Clutchmeister doesn't want to change his brand. He has his brand. He's the #1 digital athlete. Dr. Disrespect doesn't want to change his brand. He's known as, you know, he's the 2-time back-to-back Blockbuster video game champion. I don't even watch Dr. Disrespect that much. And I know exactly who the 2-time back-to-back Blockbuster video gaming champion is. That's what branding can do for your channel if you do it really, really well. When thinking of branding your stream, you know, I touched on it a little bit, you know, with just, you know, try a bunch of different stuff and see what sticks is certainly a great way, I think, of approaching that. For me, I'm still trying to figure out what my brand is. You know, I've branded myself so far as a really outgoing, you know, relationship-driven individual, you know, but I'm also giving a shot, you know, I'm also trying to, you know, do some different types of content with helping streamers grow their channel. So I'm trying to brand myself that way and seeing if people like that type of content. And then if that doesn't work, I'll try the next thing. So I think with branding, though, it definitely has to be something that you're comfortable with. You know, if, you know, for instance, if I tried to be a character, you know, like Dr. Disrespect, it would be absolutely miserable. You know, it would be terrible because I'm awful at it. You know, I'm not. That's not my thing. You know, that's not something that I'm comfortable with. I don't think branding is going to get you. I think branding is important, but I think, you know, it's something that you just kind of got to work out on the fly. You know, I feel like branding is just something that kind of comes to you. You know, I don't think that you should, for instance, not stream until you know exactly what you want your brand to be. I don't think that you should do that. I think that you should just stream, do a bunch of stuff, figure out what works, and then once you figure out what works, stick with it. So I think that answers your question. Hopefully it answers your question. But yeah, it definitely is an ever-changing process. When you're growing your brand, it's an ever-changing process. Once you've figured out what your brand is, you shouldn't change your brand, because then, you know, you're going to fragment your community. Lockdown asks you, will you ever play R6 Siege or any other FPS games? I played Destiny twice this week. Yeah, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't play an FPS game. I like FPS games. I enjoy them. You know, when I'm thinking about games that I want to play on my stream, I want to play a game that lends itself easily to the content that I am trying to create. This is one of the reasons why I loved streaming For Honor so much, and loved playing duels specifically. Like, I didn't even break it down just by game. I broke it down by game and mode for For Honor. The reason I would get a lot of people asking me, why do you play duels, Hyperion? Why don't you play Dominion? Why don't you play Brawls? Why don't you play Tribute? Why don't you play 4v4? Why don't you play all these other modes, Hyperion? Why don't you do that? And for me, I want to interact with chat as much as possible, and I want to engage my chat, and I want to build relationships with people as much as possible. That is what I want to do on my channel. That is one of the main foundations of my channel. That's what I want to do. The reason why I always decided to play duels was because there's a lot of downtime in duels. When I play a round of duels, it only lasts about a minute or so. And then there's like 20 seconds of downtime between the next round. And then once I finish a duel, there's a few minutes of downtime before the next duel starts. That gives me all kinds of time to talk about the match I just had, talk to chat, you know, make a random thought in my head that I feel like would be something that people would be interested in. You know, that gives me all kinds of time to do that. When I would play Dominion, you know, it's funny when I go back and look at my For Honor streams, and I definitely noticed this when I would play For Honor. When I would play duels in For Honor, and then when I would switch to Dominion in For Honor, my viewers would always go down every single time when I would play Dominion instead of duels in For Honor. And I believe part of the reason why is that people have been used to me being so engaging in chat and reading so many messages in chat and interacting with so many people in chat. People got used to that. So when I wasn't able to do that as much, people weren't getting what they wanted, and then they ended up leaving the channel. So I always noticed that when I would play Dominion or 4v4 in For Honor, my viewers would go down, and my viewers would be higher, always higher when I play duels. So, you know, I'm looking for a game that lends itself to the content I'm trying to create. FPS games can be good for the type of content I want to create, and I certainly enjoy FPS games, and I think it's always important to play something that you enjoy, by the way. I know I've talked a lot about transcending the game tonight, but it's always important to play something that you enjoy. If you're playing something that you don't like, or you're not, you know, or not even, I mean, you don't even have to be good at what you're playing, in my opinion. As long as you're being engaging and entertaining, that's all that matters. That's what's going to get people coming back to your channel more than your gameplay is concerned. But if you're playing a game that you don't like, people are coming for that game. You know, the game is getting your foot in the door with a lot of these viewers, right? So if you're just trashing on the game and just say, oh, this game sucks, dude, who would play this game? The people who want to watch that game are going to be like, well, wait a minute, I like this game. And why are you even playing this game if you don't like it? So it definitely is important to play a game that you like. But for me, I'm approaching it in a way where I want to find a game that I like, for sure, and a game that's going to lend itself to the content I'm trying to create on the channel. Say No the Rage does an entire Q&A segment and an entire Twitch Talk segment on his channel playing Destiny, and he will just literally just sit there and he will not even pay attention to what he's doing in Destiny, because he can do that in Destiny, because the content in Destiny allows him to do that. It's not something where he has to be like super hyper focused on what he's doing the entire time. That allows him to deliver his content better. And I'm kind of trying to do the same thing with my channel. But certainly I'm open to any type of game, you know, as long as I'm able to accomplish, you know, the goals that I want to accomplish with the channel, both from a growth and a content perspective, for sure. Sad Musha asks, what was the reason why you chose the name Hyperion? I chose the name Hyperion because I thought it was cool. I like the name. I thought the name was cool, and I'm kind of a Borderlands fan. I'm not like a Borderlands super fan. You know, I don't know. I don't play a ton of Borderlands, but I enjoy the game Borderlands. And I always thought Hyperion was a cool name. I like the name Hyperion. Hyperion is one of the, you know, gun manufacturers, one of the companies in Borderlands. So yeah, I started with that. I always wanted to. I started making my, you know, back before I started streaming. You know, I would make my names, you know, Hyperion Curse. You know, on Xbox, my gamer tag is actually Hyperion Curse, and I think it's the same on PS4. So I would make my names Hyperion Curse, and then when I started streaming, I knew that I wanted my name to be shorter than that because I feel like Hyperion Curse is too long. It's harder to remember than just Hyperion is. So, but Hyperion wasn't available at the time when I got partnered on, or before I got partnered on Twitch. Hyperion was taken up. So I had to settle for Hyperion Curse when I first started. And then when affiliates were able to change their names, I changed my name to Hyperion with an underscore, which really, really, really bothered me because I hated having that damn underscore. I really, really disliked having that underscore because when you go to type twitch.tv/Hyperion, it's going to take you to the wrong channel. You have to type twitch.tv/Hyperion underscore. So I wanted to do everything I can to get rid of that underscore, and then when I got partnered, I saw an opportunity because I saw that the channel that had Hyperion, you know, was taken, and it was an inactive channel. It was obvious to me that the channel wasn't doing anything. It wasn't following anybody. You know, you can tell when there's channels that are just dead channels because they'll always have a bunch of people following that channel because they want to watch that channel in case it ever like goes live or has any activity. But the channel itself won't be following anybody. So I saw that the Hyperion channel at the time was one of those channels. It was obvious to me that it was an inactive channel. And then when I got partnered, I emailed Twitch, and they deactivated the channel, and then they granted me the name Hyperion. So yeah, that's how I was Hyperion Curse, and then Hyperion underscore, and now Hyperion. Trimpex says, have you ever given any thought to charity streams? Absolutely, yes. I do plan on doing charity streams, and I already know what I want to do as far as charity is concerned. I'm very, very passionate. I'm extremely, extremely passionate about helping dogs get adopted, rescuing dogs, because my dog Milo, who is a big part of the channel here, who many of you guys know, my dog Milo is a rescue, and I believe in adopt, don't shop. I'm very, very passionate about that. I want to help shelters in my area and shelters and dog shelters in other areas and use the platform, use the platform that I have built and the viewership and the community that I have built and that we've all built to help help dogs get adopted. So that's something that I definitely want to do. So my wife thought of something, and if you guys steal this, I'm going to figure out who you are, and I'm going to get you banned on the platform. I'm just kidding. I wouldn't do that. But my wife thought of an idea of, doing a once a week stream once I get big enough. Stolen. I hate you, Lord. But my wife thought of an idea, once I get big enough or once I get bigger on the platform and I start getting regular donations, having a day where half of those donations go straight to dog shelters. And then I can have a different shelter featured every single week, right? Today's shelter is Canine Lifeline. Or today's shelter is, rescue, the animal shelter in this county. This is this week's shelter. So the donations on this day, half of all the donations are going to go, or maybe 100% of the donations. Who knows? Like, I haven't gone that far with it yet. But, all of the donations or half of the donations are going to go to this shelter. This is the shelter of the week. So please help out this shelter. I'm very, very passionate about helping dogs get adopted. My own dog Milo was rescued. My dog Milo was found on a highway in Kentucky, and somebody drove them from Kentucky to Ohio to Canine Lifeline, which was the shelter that we ended up adopting him from. I have no idea where I would be without Milo, and that's how I would brand it, and that's how I would that's how I would do it, high level. That's like a high level of how I would do it. So yes, I have thought of charity. I do plan on doing it at some point. I'm not sure when the right time to do that will be. Maybe I just do it now, and just who cares how many donations I get if I do it and people start donating, even if it's just a couple dollars here and there. That's great. That's better than nothing. So maybe I start doing that soon while I'm trying to figure out the direction of my channel. Who knows? But yeah, I think charity streams are a great thing to do. But I would say don't do charity streams because you think charity streams are going to help you grow. You're not doing it for charity at that point. You're doing it for yourself. And it's going to be really easy to see through somebody who decides to just do a charity stream thinking that they're just going to get a ton of viewers doing it. And I've seen that before. And I'm not saying you're planning on doing that, True, but I've seen other people do that. I've seen a lot of new streamers say, well, I'll just do a charity stream. And, I'll just do a charity stream, and I'm gonna get a ton of donations, and I'm gonna get a ton of viewers doing this charity stream. That's not why you should be doing it. You should do it for charity, not for yourself, right? So yeah, I definitely have given thought of it. Definitely have given thought to it for sure. True Impact asks again, when picking a streaming/gaming handle, what are the do's and don'ts when making that decision? The best thing that you can do when picking a gaming or streaming handle is making your name easy to remember. Don't have a name that's like ridiculously long if you can help it, with like a bunch of underscores and, numbers and all of this stuff, right? If you can help it. But like Daddy Lost 69, for example, is the exception to that rule. Daddy Lost 69's streaming name is Daddy_Law_69. Yeah, he's got a bunch of stuff in there, but it's really easy to remember. Oh, Daddy Lost 69. I just watched that guy the other day. So the biggest do when picking a streaming handle is you want something that's going to be easy for people to read if you can help it. Definitely something easy to read. I don't want to, if you want somebody to, like, the point is to get somebody to remember you, right? The point is to have somebody recall your name, and the best way of getting somebody to recall your name is to making it easy to remember. And the way to make it easy to remember is making it easy to read and making it short and succinct and right to the point without a bunch of extra unneeded stuff in it. Dr. Disrespect, Summon, Ninja, Tim the Tatman, Lyric, Towley, they're all Sacriel. They're simple, short, succinct names that are easy to remember, that are easy to read. If somebody jumps in my channel and they're somebody that is a streamer, and I can't, and I read your name and I'm like, well, how is that read? Is that is that this way or is that the other way or whatever? It's gonna be harder for me to remember that name. But if your name is Norgaz, or if your name is Just Fred, or Crimson Crow or whatever, yeah, Crimson Crow, that's easy to remember. I know exactly who you are. I saw you in the stream the other day, right? So I would say making a name that's easy to remember is the biggest do. And then the biggest don't is, having a name with like a bunch of stuff that's going to be either hard for people to spell, or hard for people to remember, or, and whatever, that goes back to branding. You want a very, very simple name that people are going to remember, because when they remember you, they're going to be more likely to hang out in your channel. They're going to be more likely to come to your channel and hang out and say, hey, I remember you from the other day. If you look at every single big streamer here, I'll go on Twitch right now, and I'll look at my follower list, and I'll go right down my follower list. Ninja, Shroud, Dr. Lupo, Kit Boga, Dan's Gaming, Ammunition, Halifax, Bricky, Professor Broman. Short, just a few syllables, easy to remember. All of those names are easy to remember. You're Professor Broman, yeah, so that's what I would do if you can help it. But obviously it's tough. With my name, I got very, 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 very lucky. I got very, very lucky with my name. I'm very happy with my name. I never plan on changing my name. I love my name. I got very, very lucky with my name because when I got partnered, you know, Twitch, you know, it's when you get partnered, you know, Twitch has an interest in having streamers have great brands. And part of that is having a really easy name. That's why Twitch inactivated that account that was holding on to Hyperion, right? I don't think if I was an affiliate, I never tried when I was an affiliate, but I don't think if I was an affiliate, Twitch would have done that. You know what I mean? But yeah, so it's your name is part of your branding. You want it to be short. You want it to be right to the point. You don't want it to have you don't want it to be too many syllables if you can help it. But then again, Dr. Disrespect is what? Dr. Disrespect is how many syllables, right? So I don't know how many syllables it is. Is it 4? Is it 4 syllables? Dr. Disrespect. 5 syllables, right? So, you know, it's easy to remember though. Crimson Crow asks, how'd you go best about advertising your Twitter on and off stream? I don't really advertise my Twitter a ton unless I'm live. Twitter doesn't do a ton with getting new viewers to your stream, with building your stream, with building your community. I don't think Twitter does a ton. I think the big thing that Twitter does do is it keeps in touch with the network that you've already built. So, you know, I follow, you know, a lot of streamers that I've networked with on Twitter. You know, I follow Silberkreutz, I follow, you know, Crimson Crow, I follow, you know, Norgaz, right? So, you know, I follow all the people that I've already built a network with because it helps me stay in touch with them, right? Or it helps me stay in touch with the viewers that I've already, you know, that I've already got to my channel, the community I've already built. So I think that's what Twitter is. I don't follow you. Oh man, I gotta follow you, Crimson Crow. I thought I was. Damn, you got me. You checked if I was following you, you jerk. Well, I'm gonna follow you. Listen, I'm gonna follow you right now. I'm following you right now. We're doing it live. We're doing it live. Twitter.com, Crimson Crow. Where are you? Where are you, Crimson? I'm gonna follow you right now. I'm gonna follow you right now, you jerk. Crimson Crow. Followed. Got it. Easy. But that's what I do on Twitter. So I don't really advertise my Twitter that much though, outside of my channel, like outside of when I'm live. Like I'll say, you know, I'll use Twitter as, you know, well, you know, you can stay in touch with me through Twitter, right? While I'm live. I don't like go around and, you know, other streams, and I mean you shouldn't self-advertise in other streams anyways, but I don't really feel like there's a lot of opportunity to do that other than on your stream or during when you're live anyways. Or maybe on like a YouTube channel, you know, I'll always plug my Twitter in the description of the YouTube videos I make. I'll always have all my links down there, like in Discord or in YouTube and Twitch and etc. And I'll do it that way. But I don't really do much in the way of advertising it unless I'm live, because I have found that Twitter has done very, very, very little for me in growing on Twitch. And I think that's the way it is for most people. I've never, ever had somebody come into my channel and say, hey, I found you on Twitter. How's it going, Hype? I found you on Twitter. You know, what's up, dude? It's great to be here. I've never, ever, ever had that happen. Not once. But I have, for instance, I have had something, and Norgaz can attest to this, and ShadowNet can attest to this. I have had people find me through YouTube. And people see a video that I did on YouTube and they say, hey, I enjoyed your YouTube video on this. You know, hey, I thought I'd come by and check out your stream. What's going on, dude? I've had that happen, but never on Twitter. I think Twitter is a great way of keeping in touch with the network of streamers that you've already built and the viewers that are already a part of your community. That's a great way to keep in touch with them and refine those relationships with them. But it does very, very, very little in the way of growing on Twitch, I've found. I'm sure there's like exceptions to the rule, but I think for most streamers, will tell you that they don't really hear too often, if at all, new viewers that they've never seen before coming into their channel and saying they found them through Twitter. I think most streamers, I don't think most streamers have had that happen to them. But as far as advertising it during the stream, I've gotten kind of bad about this lately. But when I was in my rhythm and playing For Honor, I would plug my socials every single time, every single hour. Every hour I would be like, hey guys, and you can do this for follows, you can do this for your YouTube, you can do this for your Discord, you can do this for your Twitter. Every hour I would just send like I would just have an easy reminder, a quick reminder. Hey guys, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Make sure you follow the channel if you enjoy the content. Following's the easiest way to know when I go live next. Also, you can check me out on Twitter. Keep in touch with me on Twitter, Discord, and YouTube. I would do that, something to that effect every hour. That's how I do it on stream. But I don't really advertise it much off stream because I feel like, it's not really a big driver to growth. We only have a couple questions left, guys, so if you want to keep the Q&A session going, I will go as long as you guys have questions. I don't care if you've already asked 16 questions. Anybody can ask a question. Use Command Q&A in the chat, click the link, use the Google form, submit your question, and I will read it live on stream. We only have 2 questions. Well, we only have 3 questions left, so we'll keep this going as long as possible. And if not, we'll start wrapping things up. But I appreciate everybody who has participated so far. If you guys are enjoying the stream, by the way, speaking of plugging my socials, if you guys are enjoying the stream, by the way, you can make sure you check me out on Twitch. You can follow me on Twitch right here, twitch.tv/Hyperion. If you enjoy the content, want to know when I go live next. You can also check me out on Twitter, Discord, and YouTube. Twitter at Hyperion Twitch. My Discord server is on my Twitch channel as well, and Hyperion on YouTube, and all the links for those of you who are in the stream chat right now are in the stream chat. Lord CZVL asks, would you rather have legs as long as your fingers or fingers as long as your legs? Do I have to choose one? I would rather have, wow, interesting question. Legs as long as your fingers or fingers as long as your legs? I feel like I would rather have legs as long as my fingers. I would be really, really short, but I think it's easier to get around, especially with wheelchairs and stuff like that. But if I have fingers as long as my legs, it would be really, really tough for me to sit comfortably and play video games because my arms, my fingers would be very, very long. So interesting question. Thanks for contributing. Let's see. And I guess that's it right now. So with that said, guys, if you guys have any more questions, make sure you get the questions in. But I guess we'll go through chat a little bit and we'll read some stuff in chat. Is there anything in chat? Let's see. Twitter's a great way to help keep up with Twitch and gaming news. Good thing to have to be in the know about new opportunities. Yes, definitely. I think Twitter is a really, really great way of supplementing your content. For instance, something that I like to do, is I like to tweet out, streaming tips once in a while, or, highlights of my channel once in a while. Like yesterday, I went on a little bit of a 2-minute rant about, how everybody in the world fits into a certain pie and everybody has a different type of personality, and you're naturally going to attract people that match your personality, and I shared that video on my Twitter, and I had a little caption for it. And that, I think Twitter's a great way to supplement your content that way by streaming out, or tweeting out streaming tips, streaming out, or I keep saying streaming, tweeting out your opinion on a gaming article that's relevant to the game you're playing, tweeting out your opinion about character balance in the game that you're tweeting, or whatever. I think Twitter's a really, really great way to do that. But again, that's just going to refine the relationships you've already built. I don't think it's going to do much in the way of bringing new viewers to your channel. But, I'm sure there's exceptions to even that rule. Crimson Crow asks, this isn't a question. Thanks to you, Cookie and Zero Crack. You're the reason I was noticed on Twitch. Thanks to hosts. Kind of disagree when you said hosts don't exactly help. Entire For Honor community knows me now. Man, I get a whole lot of views, but I'm known. I appreciate the kind words, Crimson Crow. And I didn't mean to. I thought that I said, and if I didn't, I'll rephrase with regards to hosts. Hosts definitely help. Hosts definitely help for sure. But it's not like you just need to get, like, a lot of streamers. I've seen this a lot with new streamers, with low viewer count streamers. I've seen a lot. Well, if I just got hosted, I would be doing fine. That's what I said about hosts, or that's what I meant to say about hosts. If I didn't clarify it then, allow me to clarify it now. But hosts certainly help. But again, you still have to, it's what you do with the hosts that's going to matter more than the host itself. Again, if I host somebody for 100 viewers and they're doing absolutely nothing with their content, and they're not reading chat, and they didn't even acknowledge the host, and they didn't do, and they're not a very entertaining streamer, that host isn't going to help them at all. They're just going to lose all their viewers, right? So, I definitely think hosts help. But I think it's more than just, I just need to get hosted, and that's all I need, right? Bell asks, what's one thing you wish you had for your stream? Wow. It's a really, really great question. Allow me to take a sip of my unsweetened sparkling water while I think about the answer. What's the one thing I wish I had for my stream? More viewers? I mean, that's the obvious answer, right? But I wish I had 100,000 concurrent viewers. How about that? All right, next question. No, I'm just teasing. I'm sure that's not the answer you wanted, so I'm not gonna answer the question that way. One thing I had for my stream. Man, that's a tough question. It's like one of those questions I feel like is something that I think about all the time, except when I'm asked. You know what I mean? Like, have you guys ever had that happen to you, where it's like you think of all of these things that you want, or all of these things that you that would help you or whatever, right? And then when you're actually asked that question, you just like completely blank on it. One thing I wish I had for my stream. That is a very, very tough question. That's a very, very tough question to answer. I mean, are we talking about right now? What do you want to do in the future? Is that what you meant? One thing I wish I had for my stream right now? Man, I am having a really, really tough time answering this question. I think it's a tough question to answer. Better bitrate would certainly help, yeah. I think a better mic would really, really help me. And that's one of the reasons why I'm looking at a better mic, because I wish I had a second camera too. I think having a second camera would certainly be really, really cool. Better content. If I had better content, I think right now a better mic would help me out a lot. I do a lot of things with, I do a lot of things in the background of my stream that you guys can hear on the mic. Like, I have my fan running, because if I don't, it gets really, really hot. I have Milo run around on occasion, stuff like that. I love getting up and, going behind me, and you guys have seen me do it plenty of times, where I do like my demonstrations and my reenactments on the stream. If I had another mic, if I had a second mic, I'd be able to take this mic and turn it on a different mode that picks up all the sound around it, and then when I switch to a certain scene, it would be able to pick up exactly what I'm trying to do behind me. I think that would be kind of cool. Valk Thoughts is it Valk Thoughts? I think it's Valk Thoughts, where it's that clip where I just do the guard break. I think that would certainly help. A second camera would definitely help that as well. So when I do get up, I can switch to that second camera view, and it can give a better view of what's going on, so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing, as opposed to just kind of like hoping that it gets picked up in the frame. Something that I really, really, really wish that I had is like better transitions, and I wish I had better scenes in OBS. There's a lot of stuff. One of those face zoom cameras, yeah, those are fun. OBS is a very, very, very powerful piece of software that not many people use the full potential of. There's a really great example that I can share with you guys of somebody named Zen X Fold, who knows how to work OBS. And they do like really, really, she did like she got hosted one night, and I'm gonna pull up the clip here right now. Oh, she doesn't have the clip on her channel. That's sad. She got hosted one time, and she did a bunch of like really, really cool stuff in OBS, where like she you know, she like split up the screen in a really, really cool way, and then she had it like synced up to the music, and then she was like celebrating the host, and then like there was like, you know, there like the scene was moving from left to right. Like there's a bunch of really, really cool stuff that you can do in OBS, but you have to learn, you know, how OBS works. So I would say that a Stream Deck certainly as well. Yeah, that would definitely help big time. A Stream Deck. It's been, you know, hasn't been something I purchased yet for whatever reason. Dr. Disrespect's transitions. Yeah, those are just transitions though. Those are relatively easy to do if you know, you can do like something in After Effects, you know, like I even have like kind of like a transition thing, you know, at the beginning of the stream. I used to do it at the beginning of the stream where I would have like a lightsaber noise, and then there would be like a quick lens flare, and then my name, you know, would kind of like animate itself on the screen, and it would say, you know, Hyperion, and it would light up, and then I would transition to my starting stream soon screen. That stuff is relatively easy to do. I mean, it's not like easy to do, like you can't do it in like 5 minutes, right? But transitions are one thing, but I'm talking more about like in the middle of a stream, having like a scene that you can switch to, like, you know, a scene that you can switch to when a certain thing happens to highlight what just happened. You know, like there are really, if you go on like, she made a YouTube video on how to do that. Yeah, True Impact knows the one I'm talking about. Yeah, True Impact knows the one I'm talking about because I shared it in the Gaming Careers Discord. But there's a lot of really cool things in the moment that you can do with OBS that I haven't learned how to do yet, that I really, really would like to look forward to learning, because I think it adds to your brand. You know, it supplements what you're doing live. Like you can switch to a scene if a raid happens. You can do this really, really cool thing that people are going to remember. Like I haven't watched Zenx Fold in like 6 months because she doesn't stream on Twitch anymore. She moved over to Mixer, but I'll always remember when Zenx Fold got raided that one time, and I saw that clip on Reddit, and I know exactly how that, you know, like that's part of your brand, right? So OBS is a really, really, really super, super powerful platform if you spend time with it. A lot of people, you know, just like switch scenes and, oh yeah, I got this scene, and, you know, I got my starting soon scene, and, you know, I got my full screen, and then, you know, I have my game capture or whatever. You know, a lot of people just do that, and you can do a lot more than that to separate yourself, because, you know, like Zenx Fold, for instance, you know, people are gonna want to be in Zenx Fold's chat. People are gonna want to be in Zenx Fold's channel, because they know that that's the really, really cool thing that she does, and when she gets hosted, that's what she's gonna do. It's actually, she's not on Twitter anymore, but she's on Discord, or she's not on Twitch anymore, but she's on Mixer. It's a Zenx Fold, like that in the chat, somebody asked. But so yeah, those are things that I definitely wish I had on my stream. Is, you know, better scenes in OBS. A better mic and a second camera, I think, would certainly help me out. We're getting a lot more questions now, guys. Thank you guys so much for asking so many awesome questions. I appreciate it very, very much. If you guys haven't gotten your question in, there is still time to do that. You can use Command Q&A in the chat. Click on the link in the chat. It'll take you to a Google form, and then you can submit your question there. This ended up being a really, really great podcast here. I was worried without my amazingly beautiful, awesome best friend co-host 1 Million Kitties. I was a little worried for a while, but you guys definitely carried me through it, man, and I appreciate it. We're not even done yet, man. This is very, very exciting. So thank you so much for being a part of it, you guys. I really appreciate it. Norgaz asks, why is Twitch life balance so important? Oh man, Twitch life balance is so freaking important, man. Twitch life balance is so freaking important. You know, on one of the, I think on last week's podcast, we touched on this a little bit. With regards to the person, you know, that made the video on YouTube and said that they've been streaming for like 3 years, you know, with hopes of making it big, and it didn't work out, and stuff like that. And I think Crimson knows the video I'm talking about. Norgaz knows the video I'm talking about. We touched on that a little bit on last week's episode. It's extremely important, man. Extremely important. Why is it so important? Twitch might not work out. It's really important because Twitch might not work out, and it's not going to work out for a lot of people. It might not work out for me. I could do all the right things and I could never make it on Twitch. That's just the name of the game. You're taking a roll of the dice. There are certainly things that you can do to make that chance better, but Twitch might not work out for me. And that's the simple answer to the question. It's, if the more detailed, the more in-depth answer to the question, is I don't want to cut off all of my relationships. I don't want to have a strenuous relationship with my wife because I'm spending too much time on Twitch. I still want to have a social life. I still want to have friends outside of Twitch. I still want to do, I still want to have a job. I still want to pay my mortgage. I still want to, be able to take care of my wife in case she ever gets sick and has to, quit her job or whatever. I still want to do all of these things because, you need a break from it once in a while. You definitely need a break from Twitch once in a while. I mean, I love streaming. I could spend so many hours, not even just streaming, but things related to Twitch, networking with people, building my channel, building my brand, coming up with YouTube videos. I can spend so many countless hours doing all of this stuff, right? But I purposely don't do that. A lot of people used to ask me all the time, why don't you stream on the weekends, Hype? I don't stream on the weekends because I want to spend time with my family. I want to spend time with my wife. I don't want that relationship to go down the tubes, especially if Twitch doesn't work out, because, like in the case of the YouTube video that I'm referring to, I don't want to refer to them by name for people who are listening to this, but, in the case of the person where they cut off, they took their entire life and they made it about Twitch and they never took a break from it, and Twitch ended up not working out for them and they didn't know what to do. Because that was their life. Twitch was their life at that point, and it didn't work out. And they didn't know what they didn't know what to do with themselves. They didn't have any friends. They said they quit their job. All these things. So you definitely want to keep that Twitch life balance for sure. If anything else, just to take a break from it once in a while. I have had. I said this. I said this on last week's podcast. I've had nights where I have fought with my wife, guys and gals listening to this podcast and watching this podcast right now. I've had fights with my wife because she thinks I'm spending too much time on Twitch, because she wants to spend time with me. She wants to hang out with me. She doesn't want me to be in my room, 8 hours a day, 9 hours a day, every single day when I get off from work, because I'm never going to see my wife, So we've had fights about it, and it's not fun when that happens. So you want to keep you want to have a life outside of Twitch still. You want to keep that balance because you want to keep those relationships intact. You still need to pay your rents. You still need to pay your mortgage. You still need to go to you still need to buy food. You still need to do things outside of Twitch, to keep that balance. And you need to take a break from it sometimes. I mean, it's really, especially if you're in like a point for the channel, like me, for instance, where we're at kind of a crossroads in the channel with the content right now. We switched from For Honor. We went from 130 viewers concurrent to 20 to 40 viewers average. It's a big hit to the channel. It's really, really discouraging. Instead of me sitting here and getting down about myself and really just sitting here and just spending every waking moment, trying to figure out what I can do. I have to do this. I'm obsessing over it. Like, instead of doing all that stuff, just take a step back and just be like, I'm not going to worry about having to stream, I'm not going to have to worry about this on the weekends. I can take a break from this. I can relax from it. I can hang out with my wife. I can go out and walk my dog. I can get the things around the house that needs to be done, right? You need to have that balance. It's so important to have that balance. Somebody said in the chat, that sounds so scary. Yeah, it's extremely scary. When you take your life and you make it 100% all about this thing, whether it's Twitch, whatever it is, and you make it all about that, and that thing ends up not working out, boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, that's scary. And you have to be responsible with it. Twitch life balance is being responsible. That's the responsible thing to do. You need to be responsible with it. 1,000%. So important. So important. What is burnout really? Burnout with regards to Twitch, I think, Norgaz. Burnout, burnout is just kind of, I mean, it's hard for me to explain what burnout is. If you've been going at it for so long, like with me for For Honor, for instance, I got burned out with For Honor because I've been streaming, I've been playing For Honor, I've been streaming For Honor for so long, and I just wanted a new experience. I wanted to take my channel in a different direction. That's to me, that to me is what burnout is. I mean, I think everybody would probably define burnout a little bit differently. But for me, burnout is just going, so hard for something for so long, and then you've kind of like maxed yourself out, right? Like, I feel like one of the big reasons why I decided to switch from For Honor to different areas of content for my channel was because I feel like I got maxed out on For Honor. I played the game. I feel like I've learned pretty much everything I need to learn about the game, or everything I want to learn about the game. I hit the ceiling. I hit the max with viewership is concerned. As far as my channel is concerned on Twitch, certainly there are other streamers that have more viewers than I do in For Honor. But for my channel, I felt like I hit my ceiling, and I felt like I maxed myself out, and I felt like I wasn't really getting anything. I felt like I really wasn't getting anything out of it to warrant continuing down that path, at least for now. And I've said that I would go, I've said that I'll go back for Marching Fire, and I have every intention of doing that. But that to me is burnout, when you've kind of like just maxed yourself out. Like, I've done everything I've needed to do, or I feel like I've gotten everything out of this that I've set out to get, or I feel like I'm not going to get anything more out of what I've been getting. So, I'm kind of burned out right now, and I feel like I'm going to go in a different direction. That's how I would define it. I'm not sure if anybody else would define it that way, but that's just how I define it. I don't think there's any right answer to that question, though. Guard Eye asks, have you ever considered streaming on YouTube? I see streamers on there with stupid amount of viewers. You're able to put tags in your streams, how to get in the recommended feed. Would you say the most effective way to grow is to build a community on YouTube or whatever, and then move to Twitch? As far as considering streaming on YouTube and other platforms, yeah, I consider it all the time. I don't think I always consider my options. I think romanticizing one platform and saying I am going to stick with this platform come hell or high water no matter what I do is doing you a disservice, is doing your content a disservice. Because plenty of streamers, Darkness429 is the biggest example I can think of. Darkness429 was, around, I think, before he left Twitch, and he was a pretty big streamer on Twitch. He had a couple 100,000 followers, I think, and he would average around, I believe, 1,000 to like 600 to 1,000 viewers a stream. Moved to Facebook, and he took a risk. He could have sat there on Twitch, and he certainly had a comfortable viewership, and he certainly had a comfortable life, through his career on Twitch. And he could have just as easily stayed on Twitch and said, you know what, I'm comfortable. I make a good living on Twitch. I have a good career on Twitch. I have a good viewership. I have a couple 100,000 followers. I'm happy with this. I'm comfortable. He could have sat there and been complacent with that and stuck with that. But he ended up wanting to take a risk because he's a content creator, just like I'm a content creator. I want to grow my channel as much as possible. And he considered all of his options, and he ended up moving to Facebook. And guess what he did? And guess what happened for him when he moved to Facebook? He tripled his viewership, and he got I think it only took him like a few months to get as many followers on Facebook than 4 years on Twitch. Meaning, it took him like 4 years or something like that. I think he was on Twitch for 4 years. It took him 4 years to get like 100,000 followers or something like that. It's only took him a few months on Facebook to get that, and he's tripled his viewership. I always see him around 2,000 to 3,000 viewers at least playing Fortnite. By the way. He went from Twitch to Facebook, streaming the biggest game in the entire world. and he is the biggest streamer in that game, Fortnite, on Facebook. I mean, he took a risk. He considered his options, and he took a risk, and it ended up working out for him. So, yeah, I consider streaming on other platforms all the time. The reason why I don't do that is because the games I would be deciding to stream don't really have enough of a viewership on those other platforms to warrant switching. Like, for instance, nobody is watching For Honor on Mixer. Nobody's watching For Honor on Facebook. People are watching For Honor on YouTube, but you know what I mean? Like, so you have to be strategic with it too. Somebody asked, is this Stone Mountain you're talking about? No, I was talking about Darkness, Darkness 429. Darkness 429, although I 429, although I do love Stone Mountain too. Stone Mountain is a really, really funny guy. But yeah, I think you always have to consider all of your options for sure, because you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't. You know, you're doing yourself a disservice if you're saying I'm never going to stream on Mixer, I'm never going to stream on Facebook, LOL. What are you talking about? You're never going to stream on Facebook. Darkness 429 went from Twitch to Facebook, tripled his viewership, and is streaming and is the #1 streamer in the biggest game in the world on Facebook right now. What do you mean you're never going to stream on Facebook? Don't cut off your options. Don't limit yourself like that. Always consider your options. So yeah, I consider it all the time. The most effective way to grow is to build a community on YouTube or whatever and then move to Twitch. I mean, no, I don't think so. I think different things work out for different people. I should read that question again because I kind of like skimmed through that question there. The second part of Guard Eye's question is, would you say the most effective way to grow is to build a community on YouTube or whatever and then move to Twitch? I think different things work for different people. For instance, Kenzo Games, who is a very, very, very big For Honor streamer, one of the biggest For Honor streamers right now, actually. I think Kenzo used to stream on Twitch at one point, but then stopped for a while. But Kenzo has a very, very big YouTube following. And he used his platform on YouTube to drive his viewers over to Twitch. And now he's averaging, like, I always see him at least with 200 to 300 viewers in For Honor every single time he streams For Honor. He leveraged his platform on YouTube to move over to Twitch. But, you know, that's not going to work for me, for instance. I only have, 260 subscribers on my YouTube channel or something like that. Driving, I think I should leverage my YouTube more in driving my viewers from my YouTube to my Twitch. But, for me, that wouldn't work out, for instance. Likewise, I don't think it would work out. I don't think it would work out too well for me to start driving, to start using my Twitch channel to drive people over to YouTube. I think that different things work out for different people. So when you talk about what the most effective way is, I don't think there is a most effective way. I think different things are going to work for different people. Kenzo leveraged his YouTube to drive viewership to Twitch, and that worked out for him really, really well. That wouldn't work out for me, for instance. So, different things work out for different people, for sure. Let's see. Squirrel asks, what do you wish you had done / started doing sooner into your time streaming? Wow, that's another great question. You guys are asking really, really great questions tonight. What do I wish I would have done sooner? I wish I would have branded myself a little bit better. I kind of switched, I watched a clip of me. Somebody shared a clip of me from the channel from way back in the early goings of the channel. And this is a really, really small thing, but, this is still a thing. But it's worth mentioning as far as, my brand is concerned. I used to swear on my stream way back in the day, and somebody shared a clip of me doing that. And, that's not something I really do much anymore, but it's a really, really small thing, right? But it's still a thing worth mentioning, I used to conduct my live streams a different way back then than I do now. So, of course, hindsight's 2020. I could look back and say, well, I wish I had better overlays. I wish that I had, better lighting back when I first started. I think that's, I don't know if that's the way, I don't know if I can point to any one thing I wish I would have done that like in the sense that now all of a sudden I'm doing something that's really, really working out for me, because I feel like I'm still learning that, right? Like, for example, you know, like I wish I could sit here and say, yeah, I wish I would have streamed Fortnite before it blew up. Of course, like, does anybody in here wish that they would have streamed Fortnite before it blew up? Because guess what? I do. Yeah, I wish I would have streamed Fortnite before it got, you know, 200 or 100,000 viewers on Twitch, when it was only getting like 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever, right? But it's like, you know, it's a learning experience, right? But there's nothing, it's a tough question for me to answer, because I'm still learning even how to stream. I learn things that I should be doing differently every single night, you know? It's hard for me to point to any one thing that like was like, oh yeah, that's like the aha moment. Like, I wish I would have done that when I first started streaming, because I'd be a lot better off right now. Things that I've learned along the way, I can talk to you about, and things that maybe I wish, yeah, I guess I could put it in that way, you know, things that I've learned along the way that maybe I wish that I had done when I first started. You know, I wish I diversified my content a lot better. You know, when you talk about diversifying your content, that's the whole point of tonight's talk, is transcending the game, right? That's a fancy way of saying diversify your content. I wish that I would have done that from the very beginning. I wish that I would have done, you know, things like Q&A sessions and things like weekly podcasts from the beginning, because I probably would be in a little bit better position now, viewership-wise, if I had done those things, because I wouldn't have been so reliant on For Honor. You know, I wish that I was more active with my YouTube channel, for instance, you know, from the beginning. You know, I only do like a video once or twice a month on my YouTube channel. You know, I wish that I was a little bit more active on my YouTube channel. I wish I was diversifying my content a little bit better. So yeah, there are things that I have learned along the way that I am doing now than I wish I did back then. But as far as pointing to any one of those things, I mean, besides saying I wish I streamed Fortnite before it blew up, there's really not a whole lot that I can say. But I can say that I'm learning things along the way, and I can speak about those things. You know, so I think that answers your question. Probably didn't answer in the way you expected, but I think I still answered it. Wow. God, you guys with the questions tonight. This is a great question too. True Impact asks, you're watching yourself 5 years in the future. What do you see? Man, it's another sip for this question. Watching myself 5 years in the future. What do you see? Tough questions, you guys. You guys are asking really, really great questions. 5 years from now, I hopefully see myself as a full-time streamer. Because that's my goal, because I believe in this, and you know, I'm very, very passionate about this, and my goal for next year is to be considering being a full-time streamer. 5 years in the future, I see myself, as far as my streaming career is concerned, not even caring about what game I play. I mean, because I want to take my content in that direction, you know, transcend the game. I want my content to be all about transcending the game, you know, so like I want to be in a position, and I think I'll get there, you know, number one, to be a full-time streamer. You know, I think that that's one of my biggest goals, and I definitely want to be considering that by this time next year. But you know, I also want to be a different type of streamer. I want to be a streamer that's more focused on delivering content that's not really reliant on the game that I'm playing. You know, it's like, even if I'm streaming For Honor, you know, I guess I'll answer it this way. The perfect scenario for me, I see Hyperion with 30,000 viewers. Just get 30,000 viewers concurrent, forehead. Yeah, that would be great too. Yeah, I see myself rich on Twitch. I will say, and I truly, truly believe this, and you guys can say I'm being cocky. You guys can say I'm being overconfident. You guys can say I'm doing whatever when I say this, right? But I honestly believe this. If I started on Twitch 4 years ago, I believe that I would be at Summit 1G at Dr. Disrespect level. I truly, truly believe that. Like, whether you guys think that's me being cocky, I think it's me believing in myself and being confident, but I really believe that if I started on Twitch 4 years ago, I believe that I have the talent and the skill, and I have the right thought process to be at that type of level of streaming. You know, when I take a look at big streamers and I compare myself to them, and you shouldn't compare yourself to other streamers because that can be unhealthy, but it's just a habit that I have. You know, when I look at Summit, yeah, I can do that. You know, that's cool, man. Like, yeah, I'm just as, I think I'm a really, really great streamer. Like, you know, so that's me probably being cocky, but honestly, I think that I would be a lot better off if I would have streamed 4 years ago. So, I mean, that kind of almost answers the 5-year question. But as far as 5 years from now, you know, hopefully full time, and more importantly, most importantly, you know, being happy with the content I'm delivering. And being not, you know, reliant on the game that I'm playing. Hopefully, that's what I hope. Meaning I don't want to have to worry about what I'm worrying about right now, right? When I switch from For Honor and go from 130 viewers to 30 viewers, you know, 5 years from now, I don't want to be worrying about that, you know, because I'm going to be delivering content that is going to be good enough for you to watch regardless of whatever game I'm playing. So, and then, you know, hopefully 5 years from now, I'll be handsome still. But hopefully 5 years from now, I won't be bald. And, you know, I'll still be, you know, likable maybe. I mean, I don't know, you know, it's a really, really abstract question to answer, but, yeah. Hyperion 1G, I don't know about all that. And I'm not taking away from what those other streamers do, like, not at all. I'm not saying what Summit does is easy. I'm not saying what Dr. Disrespect does is easy. I'm not saying what Ninja does is easy. But I'm saying that I think that I have the talent to get to that level. And had I done this 4 years ago and grew myself to that point, I would be on their level. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying, well, you know, I'm not saying I'm just as good as Doc. I'm just as good as Summit. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that if I would have applied myself to this 4 years ago and put in the work 4 years ago like all of those guys did, I think that that's the level that I would be at right now. And at the very least, I would be making this my career, and I would be you know, turning this into something that that I can really, really sustain my lifestyle with and support my family with. So, yeah. Bell asks, personal question, what's the best and worst thing about being married? Oh man, the best and worst thing about being married. Can I just answer the best part about being married? I don't know if Belle actually asked this question, by the way, because Belle is spelled differently. I think usually Belle spells her name B-E-L-L-E. The name in chat right now, or the name in the form right now, is B-E-L-L. So I'm going to call that out right away. So I don't know if Belle actually asked this question or not, or if somebody is just saying Belle asked this question. But I'll answer it anyways because I don't think it's a bad question to ask. It's certainly an interesting question to ask. But not having to cook every meal, that's my wife cooks for me every night, and I love it, man. That's one of the best parts about it. The best part about being married is having somebody that I can come home with every day and just talk to my day, you know, talk to somebody and talk to them about my day, and having that companionship and having somebody that's, you know, really, really supplements my personality and really, you know, complements my character and you know, supports me in what I'm deciding to do. And, you know, that's one of the best parts about, you know, being married is, you know, I mean, the best part about being married is having somebody who completes you. You know, like you said, you know, well, you complete me. It's like kind of like a cliche, but it's true. It's like, you know, when you feel like you have somebody there to complement what you're doing and complement who you are and supporting you and what you do, and, you know, somebody who's there, you know, supporting you through all the good times, and then somebody, you know, to kind of help you out during the bad times. And, You know, I think that that's the best part of being married. I think that that's what marriage is about. You know, it's a partnership. Marriage is a partnership. You know, two people, both people have to make it work. It's not, you know, if one person is doing, you know, way more than the other and the other's just kind of like phoning it in, it's not going to work. You know, it's a partnership. You both have to kind of, you know, put in the effort and put in the time and effort to make it work. And for us, it's really, really easy. And I'll tell you what, it's so much fun. It's so freaking much fun being married. I mean, I was scared about marriage, you know, before I got married. And I kind of put it off for a little while. But it's so much fun being married when you marry somebody like my wife. You know, my wife's name is Sarah, for those of you who don't know. And having inside jokes, having a million inside jokes with this person, you know, with my wife, and you know, like finishing each other's sentences and having our stupid own little language that we came up with, that we invented ourselves. And you know, it's like it's all that small stuff is just, it just puts a smile on my face. You know, like, you know, calling each other, you know, Bubby and Bub, and you know, having all these, like, you know, nicknames with each other. I mean, it's so much fun. I mean, it's just like, you know, it's so much fun coming home to that every single night, and you know, talking with somebody who just kind of just like understands you, you know, and walking my dog together, and you know, being passionate about the same things. Bubby, LOL. Yeah, I don't care about sharing it. I don't care about sharing it at all. Yeah, we call it Bubby. Bub and Bubby are our nicknames for each other. I mean, that's, you know, it's fun. It's so much fun. You know, and coming and, you know, saying, instead of, you know, when my wife asks if I'm hungry, or if I ask my wife if she's hungry, you know, instead of asking her if she's hungry, or instead of asking each other if we're hungry, we ask each other if we're hungo wungo. If we're hungo wungo. That's how we ask each other if we're hungry. And my dog understands that now. Like, my dog understands what hungo wungo means. So when I say, "Hey Milo, are you hungo wungo?" he'll like tilt his head, and like his ears will pop up and his eyes will get like really big and wide. Like, it's all those little things that like that you know, they're just so much fun. They're so much fun. And the worst part about being married is but if I screw up, she's gonna call me out on it, and I got somebody to answer to. Like, if I do something stupid and my wife isn't happy about it, boy, oh boy, I'm hearing about it, and it's scary, dude. It's scary. You know, so if there is a worst part about being married, you know, I guess that's it. The worst part about being married is that, you know, I have somebody to answer to now. So if I get in trouble, you know, it could get pretty ugly sometimes. Whereas before, when I was single or just dating, you know, if I did something around the house or whatever, you know, who cares, man? You know, I'm the king of the castle here, but you know, she's the queen bee in this household. Crimson Crow asks, "Do you think I should take the the 0 and the 3 out of my name? Be honest. If you can help it, yeah. If you can help it, yeah, definitely. Because it'll make your name easier to read, and it'll make your name easier to understand. And when you know, Norgaz mentioned that he kind of goes through this. Norgaz's name is spelled NORG0Z. He wishes he had a 0, or he wishes he had the letter O instead of the 0 in there. You always want it to be simpler. You always want it to be simple if you can help it. So yeah, taking, you know, like, I'm sure True Impact instead of True, you know, I'm sure, and I don't know, maybe True would disagree. But, you know, maybe True Impact, instead of having the 4 act as the A, would just rather be True Impact. Maybe, but I don't know. So, you know, I think it would be better. But, you know, at the end of the day, it's your channel. It's your name. You know, if you're happy with your name, that's all that matters. I can offer my opinion on it, but that's just my view on it. You know, you might think that having the 0 and the 3 in your name is cool. And if you think that's cool, and it's certainly easy to remember even with that in there, sure. Definitely. So yeah, I mean, it depends on what you think. It depends on what you think is suitable for your channel and suitable for your name. You know, and at the end of the day, who am I to tell you how you should change your name? I can offer opinions on it since you ask, you know. But that's just how I view it. So they're you know, as long as your name is simple, I think that's the most important thing. You know, Darkness 429, for example. You know, maybe Darkness, you know, for Darkness 429, who we talked about earlier, is a huge streamer. Huge streamer. You know, on Twitch, maybe he didn't just want to be known as Darkness. You know, maybe he just wanted to be, maybe he wanted to be known as Darkness 429, right? Even though Darkness 429 is more complex than Darkness, you know, that maybe that suited his channel better, you know? Who knows? So, you know, as long as you're happy with it, that's all that matters. But if it's simple, that's the most important part. Puddinfoot, how are you doing, Puddinfoot? Asks, have you considered making YouTube videos on how to play ball? How to play ball. I'm assuming you meant Valk, because you mentioned Valk in the second part of your question. So I'll read that as, have I considered making YouTube videos on how to play Valk? Every video you'll look for is either very outdated or assumes the player played Valk before the rework. Yeah, I have considered making a video on how to play Valk. And I definitely planned on it before I switched away from Marching Fire. So, yeah, I definitely have considered that. And I think that's content that transcends the game. You know, you're making educational, informative content, even though it can be related to the game, and that's fine. Like, when I talk about transcending the game, I don't mean that, you know, you have to make content that is completely unrelated to the game. That's not what I mean when I say transcend the game. Like, Say No to Rage, for instance, you know, does a Q&A session on Destiny every single stream, talking about what's going on in Destiny. That's him transcending the game, even though it's still even though it's still related to the game. You're still transcending the game, right? You're giving informative and educational content that people want. It's related to the game, but, you know, it's not, you know, bound by the game. Like, he can do a Q&A session on the next game he plays, for instance. That's still something, that's what he's doing, right? So I think I should clarify that, because I didn't mention that earlier. You know, transcending the game doesn't mean that it has to be completely unrelated to the game. That just means it goes beyond the game itself. But as far as making videos on how to play Valk, yes, I certainly have considered it. I wanted to do it before I switched from For Honor, but, you know, it just happened that my channel went in a different direction. And maybe one weekend, you know, I will make that video, because I think for whatever reason, people value my opinion on Valk in For Honor. And people think that I'm good at her, and people always ask me what I think about reworks, and this isn't the first time I've been asked for a Valk guide. So, yeah. I certainly plan on it, and I should probably do it soon before somebody else does, if I do want to do it. But yeah, maybe I'll sit down one weekend and just, you know, kind of, you know, hammer it out and you know, figure out how I can do that. This will be the final question, and Lord CZVL asks, quite simply, should I go to bed? It's 1:51 a.m. I don't know, dude. You got anything going on tomorrow? Shoot, man. Stay up all night. Throw a party, dude. Throw a party. Why should you go to bed now, man? I don't go to bed till like 3 on Fridays, because my wife and I, we go out, we get food, and we take our dog for an RIDE, and go out and get some Wendy's, and we come home and we binge watch on Netflix. Yeah, notifications are off right now, Wildraz, because I'm recording this for a podcast that I plan on uploading to like Spotify and YouTube, all that stuff later. What's up, Warmoth? How are you doing? Appreciate you stopping by. What's this new direction, good sir? We are just talking about streaming and how to grow on Twitch, my man. Hope you're doing well. Welcome back to the stream. I appreciate you hanging out. Yeah, guys, that is going to be it. I appreciate everybody that hung out. This went a lot longer than I thought it would, because it did, because you guys asked so many awesome questions. So thank you so much for that. Appreciate it very, very much. Thank you. We had a lot of subs. Once I end the recording here, I'll thank all the subs and hosts, you guys. So, but this is going to be it for the question and answer portion of tonight's podcast. Thank you guys so much for participating. I really, really appreciate it. I am not going offline just yet. I'm just going to end the recorded portion of the podcast. So thank you guys so very much for contributing to the discussion. We had so many great questions tonight. I really, really appreciate everybody who asked the question. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure you follow me at twitch.tv/Hyperion. I stream on Twitch every Monday through Friday, 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time in the United States. You can also check me out at Hyperion Twitch on Twitter. Check out my Discord server. It is in my channel panels on my Twitch channel, and you can find me on YouTube at Hyperion as well. So thank you guys so much for being a part of this week's episode of the podcast. This was a great Q&A session, and I look forward to everybody and seeing everybody on the next one. Take care.